Question: What's your opinion on the Ford Maverick truck? For me, I like the look of the Maverick. It's so small. I just don't know what, other than maybe having it like as a. I can't see a situation where I would really have one to use for myself. I've been in one. I've walked around it. I've seen the price points. I love the price point. If you can find one that they don't have any market adjustment, which recently I've been able to see more of them without market adjustment. So it's a truck, it's a car with a bed on the back of it. It's a debate whether you call it a truck or not, but tiny, tiny, tiny. You can get something that has a bed on the back of it, and you can get it for $25,000 or under. I love the price point, but other than that, I don't really like much anything else about it, just because it's so small. And for practicality use for me, it just wouldn't make sense. So it's not something that I would buy for myself. But I mean, overall, they look good. We don't know anything about at least the longevity of it, because they've only been out for a couple of years now. I like the idea that Ford went with them. I wish they would make way more of them, because there's people that want them. They want them at that price point. And the Ford dealerships that I've talked to, the salespeople that I've talked to, they said that if they had a lot full of Mavericks, they would sell every single one of them. The issue with it is that Ford doesn't make very much money on the Mavericks, and they make a ton of money on their F-150s. So from Ford's standpoint, why would they spend the time producing, putting allocation to these plants for a lot of these Mavericks that they don't make as much money on as they do the F-150s? Now you can say the argument of, well, they can do way more volume with the Mavericks, but they might be able to sell one F-150 and make the same amount of money as they would making 5 Mavericks. So as a business, you have to kind of weigh really what you want to do. Do you want to have more profitability per vehicle, which I feel like is what these OEMs are going for, or do you want to do more volume? And if they want to do more volume, they'll go the route of the Mavericks. And if they want to do more profitability, more margin, then they're going to go with these bigger trucks, the F-150s, the 1500s, the Sierras, stuff like that. So as far as the Maverick goes, looks good. Love the price point. I think it's too small for a truck for me to have any kind of practical use with it. Bob asks, why don't dealers taking cars to the auction do at least a simple cleanup to increase what the vehicle sells for? A lot of these dealerships that are actually taking cars to auction, they're all big franchise dealers. So whenever these cars get brought in, they're appraised by, a lot of times they'll have somebody who deals with just appraising the trade-ins that are coming in, and after they see that, they're done with it. There's some dealerships that actually do get cars detailed before they send them to the auction, but most do not. And the reason being is because they don't want to spend the time on them. They literally they trade for these things, and a lot of times, especially in the kind of cars that I buy, stuff that's like $5,000 and under, they're really giving the consumer almost $0 for these trade-ins anyway. So if a car goes for, say, $2,500 at auction, that dealership probably only paid $1,000, $1,500 for it with the trade-in, and it's probably usually money that they would have taken off the car anyway. I know this sounds weird, but when you take a cheaper car to get it and actually trade it in, the dealership probably actually gave you almost $0 for it, because that money that they are saying that they're giving you as this trade-in, you probably could have negotiated it off the total of the car anyway. Now, when we're looking at cars that are $10,000, $15,000, obviously they're going to be making some money on the, they're actually giving you money off the car that you're purchasing. But in a lot of cases, when you're trading in a vehicle, they're giving you pennies on the dollar of what your vehicle is actually worth. So when I'm talking about trade-ins, and I'm getting off topic of this question, but this needs to be said anyway, because I don't say it enough. But don't trade in your car to a dealership. If you are fine dealing, it's going to be some hassle, but you can get so much more money from your vehicle if you go the route of selling it to another individual, if you post on Facebook Marketplace, if you sell it to somebody. But even like on a $15,000, if your car's worth $15,000 and you take it and trade it into a dealership, they're going to give you probably half, $8,000-$9,000 for that vehicle when you take it to trade it in. So it's almost worth it to you to try to get more money out of it by selling it to an individual, and then go buy a new vehicle if you're going that route, or buy the new vehicle and then sell your other car. But you can get so much more money out of your vehicle if you go that route of trying to sell it yourself. But to get back to the question, why don't they clean the cars before they take them to auction? They don't want to deal with it. It takes time, it takes money, it takes extra detailers that they probably don't have, they don't want to hire, and it's just so easy for them to literally buy the car from the customer and just send it straight to auction. And they wash their hands of it, they're done, and then they'll sell it. And it might be the case that a car that's dirty versus a car that's clean, the difference of what it's going to bring to the auction is probably not all that much. So it on a $5,000 car, it might bring $5,000 if it's absolutely filthy, but it might only bring $5,300 to $5,500 if it is clean. And now I know you're saying that's a $500 difference, so that's a lot of money. It's 10% of the value of this vehicle just for them cleaning it up. But that $500 is a lot of times not worth the hassle for these dealers, even if it stacks up over time. They don't want to hire more people than they have to. They don't want to add more time to this process when they can literally get it from the consumer and it's on a truck within 2 hours of them actually getting it traded into them, and it's already to the auction, and then they're done with it. So that's one of the big reasons why they don't send these cars clean, is because it's hassle. It's just extra stuff that they have to do, and they don't want to deal with it. All right, we're getting tons and tons and tons of views every week, but you're not hitting the subscribe button. Let me know what I need to do to get you to hit that subscribe button. Please do it. Please do it, and like this video. Thank you. All right, Philip asked, best 7-seater, $10,000 to $15,000. It's difficult when I'm getting asked questions like this because I don't know if you're looking at a van, if you're looking at a like a third row SUV. So if you are asking questions, make sure you give as much information as you can. So I'll give the answer for both. So a third row SUV, $10,000 to $15,000. You can buy a Sequoia for that. Tahoes, Yukons, I think they're good. The motors and transmissions are good. They have a bunch of little like electrical things that'll go wrong with them, and you have to be careful of oil leaks and burning oil with those the Yukons and the Tahoes, the Suburbans, all of those. Make sure whatever you're buying, and get it checked out by your mechanic before you purchase it, because you can buy paperweight, you can buy a turd really quickly. So just make sure whatever you're buying to get it checked out by your mechanic before you buy it. As far as the vans go, Siennas, I love Sienna. If $10,000 to $15,000, you can buy I think it's a 2008 Odyssey or higher. I think that's when they changed the body style, but whenever they changed the body style, that's when the transmissions were actually okay. So Odyssey is good too. Caravans, especially the newer body style, anything over a 2007, the transmissions are bad in those, so I would stay away from probably anything American made in a minivan. Yeah, minivan, Toyota, Honda, and SUV. I like Sequoia. I don't like Expedition. I love Ford. I like a lot of stuff that Ford's put out. Older models, not the newer stuff. But I don't like Expeditions. I think we've had a lot of problems out of those, and don't see a lot of them with a ton of miles. But Tahoes, Yukons, Suburbans, I think are okay as long as you get them checked out by your mechanic. Rambler asks, CQA Live, I live in the Southeast Toyota region. I don't know what that even means. Okay, I live in Southeast Toyota region. They are still doing factory add-on for MSRP new cars. Does Toyota have leverage and last man standing? So as far as Toyota, the brand, do they have leverage over their dealers? Not really. So, and this is going to go for no matter what brand and dealership that you're looking at in the US. The dealers have so many laws that actually protect them to basically be independent from the brand that they're a franchise with. I know we've had a lot of talk about Ford saying that they want to go factory direct to consumers, but if it ever happens, it'll be a very long time from now, because these dealerships are so protected by Congress, by their legislation in each one of their states. These brands, they really can't step over their dealers. And another thing where these brands like Toyota, Ford, Dodge, Ram, where they really have their hands tied, is that they want to keep their dealers happy, because their dealers are their customers. We're not Toyota's customers. You as a consumer, you're not Toyota's customer. You don't buy your vehicle directly from Toyota. You're buying it from these dealers, and these dealers buy their vehicles from Toyota. So they want their dealers to be happy. They want them to continue to take these allocations. Now, at the end of the day, the whole system can't survive unless consumers are buying vehicles. So, I mean, they do want to have their customers happy, but really these OEMs, they need their dealerships to take these allocations. When they stop taking these allocations, and like what we're seeing at Ram and Ford, and these trucks start to pile up, and they have to start turning down allocations, that's when these OEMs can start actually losing money if they're not selling these vehicles. So even if a company like Ford displays that they want to go direct to consumer, they still want to do everything in their power to keep their dealerships happy. So that's why you're seeing a lot of backstepping from what like Jim Farley will talk about. I know it was last year that he had some comments about going direct to consumer, and now he's kind of backstepped over these comments, and that's because he needs to keep his dealers happy, and he needs them to take allocations, and he needs them to sell vehicles. And it's aggravating, I would imagine, from the OEM standpoint, when they're seeing a lot of these vehicles stack up, but they're still seeing their dealers put market adjustments on these cars. And that's something that Jim Farley's talked about, price gouging from their dealers, and it's not something that he's happy with, but it's something that he's got to live with, because he has no power over it. They can charge whatever they want to. I've used this example before, seeing that Ford marked down their Ford Lightnings by like 17% in some cases, their MSRPs. But I would go to a Ford dealership after they made this announcement, and I would see the MSRP on these Ford Lightnings, and then right beside of it there would be a market adjustment of $10,000. So it doesn't matter what any of these OEMs want to do. They could lower their MSRPs down to zero. The dealerships, they can charge whatever they want to for them. They can offer these Ford trucks, these big F-150s that they're selling for $80,000. The MSRP could be, they can mark it down to $20,000 tomorrow, but the dealership's going to add a $60,000 market adjustment just because they can. And if consumers continue to pay it, then that's what they're going to sell it for. So it's really, as far as pricing goes, the OEMs really don't have any leverage other than to suspend allocations from these dealerships, but the OEM's not going to do it. It's like a customer coming to to my shop, and I literally just, they want to buy a car, and I say no, I'm not gonna sell you a car. These OEMs, they need these dealerships to take these allocations. They want to keep these dealerships happy. So there's not going to be a case where they go in and they suspend an allocation from one of their customers because they need these dealerships to take the allocation.